The stars glittered coldly in the vast emptiness of space, near a jagged nebula called the Crimson Veil. Inside the nebula, a fleet of alien ships, sleek and silver, drifted in panic. They were the Vorn, a proud species known for their advanced technology and strict laws. Their ships were damaged, leaking energy, surrounded by a swarm of black insect-like vessels belonging to their enemies, the Scar. The Vorn had always feared humans, calling them Deathworlders for surviving a brutal planet. Now facing death, they sent a desperate SOS, hoping anyone would answer. Far from the nebula, hidden in the shadow of a barren moon, humanity's armada waited. The human fleet, led by Commander Mark, was a mix of heavy warships and nimble fighters, built from the harsh lessons of Earth, a death world where only the toughest survived. The flagship Thunder hummed with power, its crew ready for action. Mark stood on the bridge, his face calm but his eyes sharp. He'd heard the Vorn stories, tales of humans as savage warriors from a planet of storms and beasts. The Vorn's SOS surprised him. Why would they call for help from a species they feared? The comms officer Jane played the SOS again. The Vorn's voice was stiff, translated into flat English. To any who hear, we are under attack. The Scar will destroy us. Help or we perish. The message looped, faint and urgent. Mark rubbed his chin. The Vorn had never been allies. They'd ignored human colonies, calling them primitive. But the Scar were a threat to everyone, their swarm-like ships devouring entire systems. Mark saw a chance not just to save the Vorn, but to show the galaxy what humans could do. Plot a course to the Crimson Veil, Mark told his navigator. Luke's fingers danced over the controls, setting a path through the nebula's clouds. The Thunder's engines roared, followed by the Armada's other ships. Jane looked up. Sir, the Vorn might not want us. They're scared of us, Mark nodded. Let them be scared. We're answering anyway. The crew shared glances, their faces set with pride. Humans didn't back down. Not from aliens, not from anything. In the engine room, Engineer Kate checked the Armada's core weapon, the Graviton Lance. It could fire beams that crushed enemy ships like tin cans, a technology born from Earth's unforgiving gravity. Kate wiped sweat from her brow. The Lance is ready, she reported over the comms. But the Scar have numbers. We'll need to hit fast, Mark's voice came back steady. We will. Get ready for a jump. The Armada used a hyperdrive, a human invention that let them cross systems in minutes. It wasn't perfect, but it was faster than anything the Vorn or Scar had. The Vorn's SOS kept playing, growing weaker. The Scar were closing in, their black ships clawing at the Vorn's defenses. The Vorn's leader, aboard their flagship, stood in a gleaming command center, its silver walls cracked from Scar attacks. Why did no one answer? It asked, its voice trembling. A Vorn officer hesitated. Someone did. The Deathworlders, humans. The leader froze, its eyes wide. Humans, they'll destroy us all. But there was no choice. The Scar's swarm was relentless, their weapons tearing through Vorn shields. Mark's Armada reached the nebula's edge. The Crimson Veil's red clouds swirled, hiding the battle within. Luke's scanners picked up the Vorn's ships surrounded by hundreds of Scar vessels. They're outnumbered 10-1, Luke said. Mark's jaw tightened. Good, they won't expect us. He turned to the crew. All ships, prepare for combat. We hit the Scar before they know we're here. The Thunder's crew moved fast, loading weapons and checking shields. The Armada's ships formed a tight wedge, ready to strike. Kate's voice crackled over the comms. Graviton Lance is hot. Give the word, sir. Mark nodded. Hold until we're close. We want maximum damage. The hyperdrive hummed, its energy building. The crew braced, their hearts pounding but their hands steady. Humans were born on a death world, forged by fire and storm. The Vorn feared them. The Scar ignored them. But both would learn what humans could do. The Thunder's screens showed the battle ahead. Vorn ships, silver and battered, firing weak beams at the Scar's black swarm. The Scar moved like insects, their ships small but deadly, overwhelming the Vorn with numbers. Mark leaned forward. Jump now, he said. The hyperdrive flashed and the Armada vanished, reappearing inside the nebula. The Scar's swarm loomed ahead, unaware of the human fleet. Mark's voice was calm but firm. Fire the Lance. The war zone was about to change. The Crimson Veil's red cloud swirled like fire as humanity's Armada burst into the war zone. The hyperdrive's flash lit up the nebula, and the Thunder led the charge, its sleek hull gleaming. Commander Mark stood on the bridge, his eyes locked on the screens. The Scar's black insect-like ship swarmed around the Vorn's silver fleet, their claws tearing into weakened shields. The Vorn were crumbling, their SOS fading with every hit, but the Scar hadn't seen the humans coming. "Fire the graviton lance," Mark ordered. Engineer Kate in the weapons bay grinned as she powered up the human weapon. The graviton lance hummed, its core glowing blue. A beam shot out, invisible but deadly, warping space itself. It hit a cluster of Scar ships, and they crumpled like paper, their hulls collapsing into twisted wrecks. Dozens vanished in seconds, crushed by the lance's force. The Thunder's crew cheered, their voices shaking the bridge. The Scar's swarm froze, their movements stuttering. They hadn't expected resistance, let alone humans. The Vorn aboard their battered flagship watched in shock. Their leader's voice trembled over the comms, speaking to its crew. "The Deathworlders." They answered, fear mixed with hope in its words. The Vorn had called humans savages, but now those savages were their only chance. Mark didn't waste time. "All ships target the Scar's core swarm," he said. "Break them apart." The Armada moved as one, its 20 ships spreading out in a sharp wedge. Navigator Luke steered the Thunder through the nebula's clouds, dodging Scar beams that flashed like green lightning. The human ships fired again, plasma cannons joining the graviton lance. Blue and white beams cut through the Scar, blasting their small ships into sparks. The war zone lit up, a storm of fire and metal. Kate monitored the lance's controls, her hands steady. "It's holding, but it's hot," she said over the comms. "We can fire 3 more times before it needs to cool." Mark nodded. "Make them count." The lance fired again, crushing another group of Scar ships. The swarm was thinning, but hundreds remained, their claws slashing at the Vorn. The Vorn's flagship sent a weak signal. "Humans, we..." "Thank you." Mark ignored it. Thanks could wait. The Scar were the problem now. The Armada's fighters darted between Scar ships, dropping drones that exploded on impact. Each blast took out 2 or 3 enemies, their black hulls cracking open. Luke's navigation kept the Thunder ahead of the swarm, weaving through clouds that hid their movements. "They're fast, but they're sloppy," Luke said, grinning. The Scar's swarm relied on numbers, not strategy, and humans were built for strategy. Mark saw their weakness. The Scar moved like a single mind, predictable once you knew their pattern. "Focus on their lead ships," Mark said. "Cut their coordination." The Thunder targeted a larger Scar vessel, likely a command unit. The graviton lance fired and the ship imploded, sending a shockwave through the swarm. The Scar's movements faltered, their formation breaking into smaller groups. The Vorn's flagship fired a few beams, weak but desperate, trying to help. Their leader's voice came again. "We fight with you, humans." Mark raised an eyebrow. The Vorn were scared, but they were trying. Jane, the comms officer, relayed messages from the Armada's other ships. "The Falcon reports heavy Scar fire, but shields are holding," she said. The Star took a hit, minor damage. Mark's jaw tightened. The Scar were still dangerous, their numbers overwhelming. But humans were Deathworlders, forged on a planet of fire and ice. They didn't break. "Tell the Falcon to pull back," Mark said. "We'll cover them." The Thunder moved to shield the Falcon, its cannons blasting Scar ships that got too close. Luke swerved through a cloud, hiding the Thunder from enemy sensors. The Scar's beams missed, hitting nothing but nebula gas. Kate fired the lance again, crushing another cluster of Scar. "1 shot left," she warned. Mark nodded. "Save it. We'll need it for their core." The screen showed the Scar's main swarm, a writhing mass of black ships. That was the target. The Vorn's leader sent another message, its voice less stiff now. "Your power. It's incredible." Mark didn't respond. The Vorn had feared humans, called them monsters. Now they saw what those monsters could do. The Armada pressed forward, their weapons tearing through the Scar. The war zone was chaos, but the humans were in control. The Scar's numbers were dropping fast, their swarm no match for human speed and fire. Mark leaned forward, his voice calm but hard. "Regroup for the final push," he said. "We end this now." The Armada formed up, ready to strike the Scar's heart. The Vorn watched, their fear turning to awe. The Deathworlders had come, and the war zone would never be the same. The Crimson Veil's red clouds glowed with bursts of fire as humanity's Armada tore through the Scar's swarm. The graviton lance had crushed dozens of their black insect-like ships, scattering their formation. The Vorn's silver fleet, battered but still fighting, clung to hope as the humans fought for them. On the Thunder's bridge, Commander Mark watched the battle map, his eyes sharp. The Scar were down to hundreds, but they were far from beaten. Their swarm mind was waking up, and they were angry. A wave of green beams lit up the nebula, the Scar's weapons firing in unison. The human ship Falcon took a direct hit, its shields flaring red. Captain Ben's voice crackled over the comms, tense but steady. "Hull breach deck 2. We're sealing it now." His crew rushed to patch the damage, welding plates under flashing alarms. The Thunder dodged a beam that sliced through the clouds, its hull rattling. Navigator Luke gripped the controls, his face tight. "They're locking on," he said. "Too many of them." Mark's jaw clenched. The Scar's numbers were their strength, overwhelming shields with endless attacks. "Launch decoy drones," he ordered. From every human ship, small drones shot out, glowing to mimic the Armada's signals. The Scar's beams chased the drones, blasting empty space. Explosions lit the nebula, giving the humans a moment to breathe. Mark saw his chance. "Split the fleet," he said. "Group 1 with me. Group 2, flank their right side." The Thunder led 10 ships forward, drawing the Scar's fire, while the Falcon and the rest looped around using the hyperdrive. Engineer Kate checked the Graviton Lance's controls. "One shot left," she warned over the comms. "It's overheating. We need a minute." Mark nodded. "Hold it for the big one." The Lance had already done damage, but the Scar's swarm was relentless, their ships darting like angry bees. The Vorn's flagship sent a message, its voice less stiff now. "Humans, we share our scans. Scar weak points marked." A stream of data flowed to the Thunder, showing the swarm's key ships. Mark raised an eyebrow. The Vorn were scared of humans, but they were starting to trust. Jane, the comms officer, relayed the Vorn's data to the fleet. "They're helping," she said, surprised. The scans highlighted larger Scar ships directing the swarm. "Target those," Mark said. The Thunder's plasma cannons fired, hitting a Scar command ship. It exploded, and the swarm's movement stuttered, their coordination faltering. The Falcon's group struck from the right, their beams carving through smaller Scar ships. Captain Ben reported in. "Breach sealed. We're back in the fight." The Scar's retaliation grew fiercer. A swarm of their ships rushed the Thunder, their claws scraping its shields. The bridge shook, lights flickering. Luke swerved through a nebula cloud, hiding the Thunder from the Scar's sensors. "They're fast," he muttered, dodging another beam. Mark leaned forward. "Kate, can we jump?"
Kate checked the hyperdrive.
"It's ready, but it's risky in this cloud. We could hit debris." Mark's eyes narrowed. "Do it. Get us behind their main swarm." The hyperdrive hummed, and the Thunder vanished, reappearing behind the Scar's core. The flanking group joined them, forming a pincer. The Scar were caught, their swarm trapped between two human forces. The Vorn's flagship fired, its beams weak but precise, hitting Scar ships marked by their own scans. Their leader's voice came again. "We fight with you, Deathworlders." Mark nodded. "Good, keep it up." The war zone was chaos, but humans thrived in chaos. The Thunder's cannons roared, blasting Scar ships into debris. The decoy drones kept the enemy confused, their beams hitting nothing. Luke navigated through the nebula, avoiding claws and beams with quick turns. Kate watched the Lance's readings, her hands steady. "It's cooling," she said. "Ready soon." Mark's mind raced. The Scar's numbers were dropping, but they were still dangerous. He needed to break them completely. The Vorn's leader sent another message, its voice softer. "We feared you, humans. We were wrong." Mark didn't respond, but he noted the change. The Vorn were seeing what Deathworlders could do. The Falcon reported more hits, its crew holding strong despite the damage. The Armada fought as one, their ships moving like a pack of wolves. The Scar's swarm was thinning, their black ships falling faster now. Mark looked at the battle map. The Scar's core was exposed, their command ships vulnerable. "Regroup," he told the fleet. "We hit their heart next." The Thunder led the charge, its shields glowing under Scar fire. The Vorn's flagship followed, firing alongside the humans. The war zone burned, and the Scar's swarm was breaking. Mark's voice was calm but firm. "Get ready, Kate, we're ending this." The Armada closed in, ready for the final strike. The Crimson Veil's nebula clouds churned with red light as humanity's Armada outmaneuvered the Scar's swarm. The human fleet had split the enemy's formation, their Graviton Lance and decoy drones throwing the Scar into chaos. The Vorn's silver ships, battered but fighting, began to trust their Deathworlder saviors. On the Thunder's bridge, Commander Mark studied the battle map, his eyes sharp. The Scar's numbers were down, but their black insect-like ships still swarmed, their claws slashing through the nebula. Mark saw a chance to break them for good. "Luke, take us into the nebula's core," Mark said. Navigator Luke nodded, his hand steady on the controls. "It's thick in there, sir. Debris everywhere." The nebula's core was a maze of gas clouds and floating rocks, a perfect trap for the Scar's clumsy swarm. "Exactly," Mark said. "They'll follow us and crash." The Thunder surged forward, weaving through clouds that hid it from Scar sensors. The Armada's other ships followed, their hyperdrives humming for quick jumps. The Scar pursued, their green beams cutting through the nebula. Their smaller ships were fast but sloppy, smashing into debris as they chased the humans. One Scar vessel hit a rock, exploding in a burst of black metal. Another tangled in a gas cloud, its engines failing. The swarm's coordination was breaking, their single-minded attacks useless in the nebula's chaos. Luke grinned as he steered the Thunder around a spinning asteroid. "They're falling apart," he said. Engineer Kate checked the Graviton Lance's controls. "It's ready for one last shot," she said over the comms. "But we've got something bigger. The plasma cascade's online." The cascade was a new weapon, designed to flood a war zone with fire, burning everything in its path. Mark nodded. "Save it for the end. We need to thin them out first." Kate's team prepped the cascade, its core glowing red in the weapons bay. The Vorn's flagship fired alongside the humans, its silver hull scarred but steady. Their leader sent a message, its voice strong now. "Deathworlders, we fight with you. Target data incoming." More scans flowed to the Thunder, pinpointing the Scar's weak points. Jane, the comms officer, relayed the data to the fleet. "The Vorn are all in," she said, surprised. Mark smiled grimly. The aliens who feared humans were now allies, bound by the fight. Mark opened a channel to the Scar, his voice cold and clear. "Halt your advance or burn in flames." The broadcast echoed through the war zone, a taunt to shake the Scar's swarm mind. The Scar didn't answer, but their ships hesitated, their movement slowing. The Vorn's leader heard the message and sent another. "Your strength is terrifying." Mark ignored the praise. The Scar were the target, and the nebula was his weapon. The Falcon, led by Captain Ben, struck from the flank, its plasma cannons blasting Scar ships. "We're hitting their right side," Ben reported. "They're scattering." The Falcon's crew had repaired their hull breach, their ship now a wolf among the Scar's swarm. The human fleet moved like a single force, their ships darting through the nebula's core. Luke navigated with precision, dodging rocks and clouds that crushed Scar vessels. "This is like flying through a storm," he said, his hands never leaving the controls. The Scar's swarm was down to 100 ships, their black forms tangled in the nebula's debris. Another crashed into an asteroid, its claws useless against the rock. The Vorn's flagship fired, its beams hitting Scar weak points marked by their own scans. The aliens fought harder now, inspired by the humans. Their leader's voice came again. "We owe you, Deathworlders." Mark nodded to Jane. "Tell them to keep firing. We're not done." The Thunder led the Armada deeper into the nebula, luring the Scar into tighter spaces. The swarm's numbers were a weakness here, their ships colliding in the chaos. Luke swerved around a gas cloud, hiding the Thunder from enemy beams. Kate's voice crackled over the comms. "Cascade's ready, sir. Just say when." Mark checked the battle map. The Scar's core swarm was bunched up, vulnerable. "Not yet," he said. "We boxed them in first." The Armada tightened its formation, surrounding the Scar's main swarm. The Vorn's ships joined, their beams adding to the human fire. The war zone burned with light, the Scar's numbers dropping fast. Mark's eyes locked on the screens. The nebula's core was their trap, and the Scar were caught. "Regroup," he told the fleet. "Get ready for the cascade." The Thunder's crew braced, their hearts pounding. The Vorn watched, their fear turning to awe. The Deathworlders were about to end this. The Crimson Veil's nebula burned with the chaos of battle, its red clouds lit by explosions. Humanity's Armada had trapped the Scar's swarm in the nebula's core, their hyperdrive and strategy outmatching the enemy's numbers. The Vorn's silver ships fought alongside the humans, their beams joining the fray. On the Thunder's bridge, Commander Mark watched the battle map, his face set. The Scar's black insect-like ships were down to 100, bunched tightly in the nebula's debris. It was time to end them. "Kate, is the plasma cascade ready?" Mark asked. Engineer Kate in the weapons bay checked the glowing red controls. The plasma cascade was humanity's ultimate weapon, a device that could flood the war zone with fire, burning everything in its path. "It's hot, sir," she said, her voice steady. "One shot and it'll clear the swarm. But we need the Vorn out of range." Mark nodded. "The Vorn were allies now and he wouldn't risk their ships." "Jane, tell the Vorn to pull back," Mark said. Comms Officer Jane sent the message. "Vorn, retreat to the nebula's edge. Now." The Vorn's leader replied, its voice shaken but obedient. "We comply. Deathworlders." Their silver ships turned, firing weak beams to cover their retreat. The Scar's swarm pressed forward, sensing weakness, their claws slashing at the Vorn's shields. Mark's eyes narrowed. "Luke, keep us between the Vorn and the Scar," he said. Navigator Luke nodded, steering the Thunder through the nebula's clouds. The Armada formed a wall, shielding the Vorn as they fled. The Scar's green beam slammed into human shields, making the Thunder's hull shake. The Falcon, led by Captain Ben, took a hit, its shields flickering. "We're holding, but it's tight," Ben reported. Mark's voice was calm. "Stay strong. We're ending this." He opened a channel to the Scar, his tone cold and hard. "Last chance. Stop now or burn." The broadcast echoed, a final warning. The Scar didn't answer, their swarm charging blindly. "Kate, fire the cascade," Mark ordered. Kate pressed the button and the plasma cascade launched from the Thunder. A small pod shot into the nebula's core, glowing brighter than the stars. It burst, releasing a wave of white-hot plasma that spread like a tidal wave. The Scar's swarm caught fire, their black ships glowing red before crumbling to ash. The war zone blazed, the nebula's clouds reflecting the flames. The Scar's lead ship, larger and spiked, tried to flee, its engines screaming. But the cascade's fire was faster, swallowing it whole. In seconds, the Scar were gone. The war zone fell silent, the nebula's red clouds dimming as the flames faded. The Thunder's screens showed nothing but debris. No Scar signals, no survivors. The crew stared, their breath caught. Even Mark, who'd planned this, was stunned by the cascade's power. Kate broke the silence, her voice soft. "It worked. They're gone." The crew erupted in cheers, their shouts filling the bridge. The Vorn's flagship sent a message, its leader's voice trembling with awe. "Deathworlders, you saved us. We were wrong to fear you." Mark didn't respond, but he noted the change. The Vorn had called humans savages, monsters from a brutal planet. Now they saw the truth. Humans were fierce, but they fought for others too. Jane relayed messages from the Armada. "All ships report in," she said. "Minor damage on the Falcon and Star, but no losses." Mark nodded, relieved. The Armada had faced a swarm and won without losing a ship. Luke checked the scanners. "Warzone's clear," he said. "Just us and the Vorn." The Vorn's silver ships drifted at the nebula's edge, their hulls scarred but intact. Their leader sent another message. "We owe you everything, humans." Mark finally replied, "Help us secure the nebula. That's enough." The Vorn agreed, their ships moving to patrol the area. The Armada regrouped, its ships forming a protective ring around the Crimson Veil. Kate checked the plasma cascade's controls, now dark. "It's a one-use weapon," she said. "But I can build another." Mark smiled. "Good. We might need it." The crew worked fast, scanning for threats and repairing shields. The nebula was theirs, a victory that would echo across the galaxy. The Vorn's fear had turned to respect, and the Scar's swarm was ash. Humans forged on a death world had shown their strength. Mark looked at the screens, the nebula's clouds calm now. The Armada had answered a desperate call and changed the war zone. But he knew the galaxy was vast and other eyes were watching. "Stay sharp," he told the crew. "This is our moment, but it's not the end." The Thunder's engines hummed, ready for what came next. The Vorn watched, their silver ships gleaming. The Deathworlders had come, and the galaxy would never forget. The Crimson Veil's nebula was quiet, its red clouds no longer lit by the fire of battle. The Scar's swarm, once a writhing mass of black ships, was ash, incinerated by humanity's plasma cascade. The Vorn's silver fleet drifted at the nebula's edge, scarred but safe. On the Thunder's bridge, Commander Mark stood by the main screen, watching the empty war zone. The human Armada had answered the Vorn's desperate SOS and turned the tide. But the silence felt heavy, like the calm before a new storm. "Run a full scan," Mark told Navigator Luke. Luke's fingers moved over the controls, the scanners sweeping the nebula. "No Scar signals," he reported. "Just us and the Vorn." The crew let out a collective breath, their cheers from the victory now a quiet pride. The Armada had faced a swarm and won with no ships lost. But the Falcon and Star were damaged and some crew members were injured. Mark's heart was heavy for them, even in triumph. Engineer Kate leaned against her console, the plasma cascade's controls dark. "That was one hell of a fire," she said, wiping sweat from her brow. "But we're out of cascades. The graviton lance needs work too." Luke grinned. "Give you a week and you'll build something scarier." Kate laughed, but her eyes were serious. "I'm thinking a faster hyperdrive. Something to make the galaxy blink." Their talk turned to upgrades, their voices low but eager. The Scar were gone, but other threats were out there. The Vorn's flagship sent a message, its leader's voice clear but cautious. "Deathworlders, you saved us. We offer resources, metals, fuel, as thanks." Jane, the comms officer, relayed the message to Mark. "They sound grateful but nervous," she said. Mark nodded. The Vorn had feared humans, calling them monsters from a brutal planet. Now they owed their lives to those monsters and it made them uneasy. "Tell them we accept," Mark said. "But we'll watch them. Trust takes time." The Vorn's ships moved closer, sharing data on their resources. Their metals could strengthen the Armada's hulls. Their fuel could power new missions. But their messages carried a hint of fear, as if they expected humans to turn on them. Mark understood. The Vorn had seen the plasma cascade's power, the way it burned a swarm to nothing. That kind of strength scared allies as much as enemies. Mark gathered the Thunder's crew in the main hall, the other ships joining by video. "You did the impossible today," he said, his voice steady. "The Scar were a plague and we stopped them. The Vorn called us Deathworlders, thinking we were weak. Now they know better. We fought for them and will fight for anyone who needs us. But we honor our own first. Those who were hurt, who gave everything." He paused, naming the injured from the Falcon and Star. The crew stood tall, their faces proud but solemn. The Armada's engineers worked through the night, repairing shields and patching hulls. Drones collected Scar debris, their black metal holding secrets that could improve human tech. Kate's team was already studying a Scar claw, hoping to mimic its strength. "They were tough," Kate said to Mark, "but we're tougher." He smiled. Humans were forged on Earth, a death world of storms and beasts. That strength had won the day and it would carry them forward. News of the victory spread fast. Comms buzzed with messages from human colonies, their voices full of joy. "You crushed the Scar." One said, "The Vorn owe you." Another cheered. The colonies had feared the Scar's spread, but now they stood prouder, knowing humans could face any threat. The galaxy was taking notice too. Jane picked up faint signals from distant systems, other species whispering about the Deathworlders who ended a swarm. Mark listened, his mind on what it meant. Fame brought allies, but also enemies. Luke joined Mark on the bridge, looking at the nebula's stars. "What now, sir?" he asked. Mark's eyes scanned the horizon. "We secure the nebula, help the Vorn rebuild. Then we get ready for what's next." Kate nodded, sketching hyperdrive plans on a tablet. "Give me a month and we'll outrun anything," she said. Luke laughed. "And I'll fly it through a black hole." Their banter eased the tension, but Mark's thoughts were on the future. The Vorn's gratitude was real, but their fear lingered. Other species might test humanity's strength. The Thunder's crew prepared to patrol the nebula, ensuring no Scar remained. The Vorn's ships worked nearby, their silver hulls gleaming as they repaired. The Armada was a symbol now, a sign that humans could change the galaxy. But Mark knew peace was fragile. "Stay sharp," he told the crew. "The stars are watching." The Thunder's engines hummed, ready for the next call. The Vorn's leader sent one last message. "We will not forget, Deathworlders." Mark didn't reply. Action spoke louder, and humans had spoken. The Crimson Veil's nebula shimmered with calm, its red clouds no longer torn by battle. The Scar's swarm was gone, burned to ash by humanity's plasma cascade. The Vorn's silver ships, scarred but intact, began repairs at the nebula's edge, their crews working under the watchful eyes of the human Armada. On the Thunder's bridge, Commander Mark stood by the main screen, looking out at the stars. The victory was complete, but the galaxy was vast and new eyes were turning toward the Deathworlders. The Vorn's flagship sent a final message, its leader's voice steady but cautious. "Deathworlders, you have our gratitude. The nebula is safe because of you." The Vorn offered more resources, metals, fuel, and data to strengthen the human fleet. Comms officer Jane relayed the message to Mark. "They're trying to be friends," she said, "but they're still scared." Mark nodded. The Vorn had feared humans, calling them savages from a brutal planet. Now they saw human strength, but trust was fragile. Engineers moved fast, using Vorn metals to patch the Falcon and Star. The Armada's drones swept the nebula, collecting scar debris for study. Engineer Kate was already in the Thunder's lab, examining a scar claw. "Their tech's tough," she said to Mark, "but I can make ours tougher." She sketched plans for a new hyperdrive, one that could outrun any ship in the galaxy. Navigator Luke joined her, grinning. "Build it and I'll fly it through a supernova," he said. Their laughter filled the bridge, easing the crew's tension, but the calm didn't last. Luke's scanners picked up a faint signal from deep space beyond the nebula. "It's not Vorn or Scar," he said, his voice low. "Something else, it's watching us." The signal was sharp, coded, unlike anything human or Vorn tech could read. Mark's eyes narrowed. The galaxy had heard of the Deathworlders' victory, and this signal could mean trouble. "Track it," he told Luke. "We need to know who's out there." The crew's mood shifted, pride mixing with caution. They'd beaten the Scar, but new challenges were coming. Mark called the Armada's captains over the comms. Captain Ben aboard the Falcon spoke first. "Repairs are done, sir. We're ready for anything." The other captains echoed him, their ship strong again. Mark's chest swelled with pride. This fleet born on Earth's harsh death world had faced a swarm and won. They were more than warriors, they were humanity's future. He opened a channel to the Vorn's leader. "We're leaving the nebula," he said. "You're safe now. But stay sharp," the Vorn replied, their voice respectful. "We will, Deathworlders. We won't forget." The Thunder's crew gathered in the mess hall for a quiet celebration. They shared food and stories, their voices warm with victory. Kate told of building the plasma cascade in a cramped Earth lab. Luke laughed about dodging scar beams like a game. Ben spoke of his crew's courage, sealing the Falcon's breach under fire. Mark listened, his heart full. These people had answered a desperate call and changed the galaxy. They were family, forged by battle. News of the victory spread to human colonies, their messages flooding the Thunder's comms. "You saved the Vorn," one said. "The Deathworlders are legends." Another cheered. The colonies stood taller, knowing humans could face any threat. The galaxy was listening too. Jane picked up more signals, whispers from distant species, some curious, some wary. The Deathworlders' name was spreading, a warning and a promise. Mark stepped onto the bridge, looking at the stars through the viewport. The Crimson Veil was secure, its resources flowing to human worlds. The Vorn were rebuilding, their silver ships gleaming as they worked. But the new signal worried Mark. Was it a friend or a foe? He didn't know, but he made a silent vow. Humanity would be ready. The Scar had learned what Deathworlders could do, and others would too. Kate and Luke joined him, their faces tired but determined. "Hyperdrive upgrades are coming," Kate said, holding her tablet. "We'll be faster than ever." Luke nodded. "And I'll fly us anywhere." Mark smiled. "Good. The galaxy's big and we're not done." The Thunder's engines hummed, ready for the journey home. The Armada formed up, their ships a wall of strength. Mark gave the order. "Set course for Earth, but keep scanners on. We're not alone out here." The Vorn's leader sent one last message as the Armada prepared to jump. "Deathworlders, you've changed us. We'll stand with you." Mark didn't reply, but he noted the words. Allies were good, but humans relied on themselves. The hyperdrive flashed, and the Armada vanished, leaving the Crimson Veil behind. The stars waited, full of secrets and challenges. The crew celebrated their win, but their eyes were on the horizon. Humanity, forged on a death world, was ready for whatever came next.